Archaeologists and historians have probably studied Egypt more than any other place on the planet. But even with all that digging and decoding, plenty of what they've found in the land of Ra still makes zero sense. In fact, if you tried to write down everything we don't know about ancient Egypt, that book would be way longer than the one with all the stuff we do know. So let's see if we can chip away at the mystery just a little with the mind-bending finds in this video. Number 15. The red-haired mummies of Egypt. For decades, Egyptologists believed ancient Egyptians were uniformly dark-haired. However, this theory changed when they started finding mummies with natural red and blonde hair. The common theory blamed the hair colors on the mummification chemicals. But in 2016, Dr. Janet Davey from Australia's Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine proved that wasn't true. She demonstrated through testing that the hair pigments were untouched by the embalming process. So what does that mean? Well, to put it very simply, redheads and blondes lived in ancient Egypt, possibly introduced during the Greco-Roman period, but maybe even earlier. One of the most striking examples is a 5400-year-old mummy known as Ginger, named for his vibrant copper-colored hair. Discovered in the 19th century, Ginger predates the pharaohs, hinting at early migration or unexpected diversity. His body, curled in the fetal position, seems eerily peaceful, but the bright hair spilling over his skull still startles visitors. These ancient genes are now quietly rewriting what we thought we knew about Egypt's early inhabitants. Number 14. The puzzling inscriptions at Wadi el-Hudi. Well, if you look at it, Wadi el-Hudi doesn't look like much today, just a scattering of ruins deep in the desert. But this ancient amethyst mine hides one of Egypt's most confusing archaeological puzzles. Scattered among the rocks are hundreds of inscriptions, names, dates, carvings, and even references to Pontius Pilate and guards watching over laborers. But one stone tablet stands out. It mentions a man named Usersate, a known viceroy of Kush. That wouldn't be strange, except this particular inscription is about 500 years newer than anything else at the site. Someone deliberately traveled across 30 kilometers of harsh desert to place that one stone in a mine that hadn't been used for centuries. Why would anyone do that? There's no water nearby, no roads, no temples, nothing to suggest it was part of a larger ritual. The answer may be lost to time, but the act itself feels personal, even desperate. Someone wanted a message to last, and it did, carved into stone, waiting quietly in the dust. Number 13. The Lost Stone of Creation, Benben. Long before pyramids pierced the sky, ancient Egyptians believed in a sacred mound, Benben, said to be the first land that emerged from primordial waters. It stood in the temple of Re at Heliopolis. The real stone is gone, lost to time, but its echoes live on in the pointed capstones of pyramids and the geometry of obelisks. To the ancient mind, this wasn't just a myth. Benben represented the seed of creation, the cosmic beginning, the moment the sun's first ray struck the earth. In some traditions, it was associated with the phoenix, a creature that rose from its ashes, fitting for a civilization obsessed with death and rebirth. The word Ben is tied to meanings of fertilization and life-giving force, underscoring how deeply embedded this stone was in spiritual thought. It wasn't just a monument, it was memory cast in granite, geometry with divine intent. The stone that symbolized everything Egypt stood for is now absent, but its shadow still shapes the skyline. Number 12. The Cairo Genisa. Inside a modest storeroom in Cairo's Ben Ezra Synagogue, scholars stumbled upon one of the richest manuscript collections ever discovered. Over 400,000 fragments, tucked away and untouched for centuries, chronicled the daily lives, prayers, arguments, and trades of Jewish communities across North Africa, the Middle East, and Andalusia. Some pages were faded with age, others looked almost untouched, as if waiting for someone to return. There were marriage contracts, school homework, business ledgers stacked with letters between friends, and theological debates inked on the same parchment as shopping lists. The documents span over a millennium, from the 6th to the 19th century, and reflect not just faith but culture, economics, and private struggles. What makes it all the more extraordinary is the quiet mystery. No one knows who began the collection, or why they kept adding to it over 1,300 years. The contents now sit largely in Cambridge University's library, but the soul of the collection remains where it was born, in Cairo's dust and shadow. Number 11. The Vanished Pyramid of Hor-Im-Heb. In 2014, archaeologists digging near Abydos stumbled upon the tomb of a scribe named Hor-Im-Heb. From the surface, it didn't look like much, but centuries ago, this unassuming burial was tucked beneath a 23-foot-tall pyramid, long since demolished for reasons no one can explain. Inside the tomb was a beautifully preserved sandstone sarcophagus, marked with Hor-Im-Heb's name in careful hieroglyphs. But what shocked everyone was what surrounded him: the scattered, partially decayed remains of 4 men, 12 women, and at least 2 children. Their bones lay disarticulated, suggesting either a rushed burial or a later disturbance. Scribes weren't typically buried in pyramids. Those were reserved for the elite. So was Hor-Im-Heb a royal confidant? A priest? A keeper of forbidden knowledge? The pyramid's destruction suggests someone wanted this man's legacy erased. But ironically, by trying to wipe him away, they've ensured he'll never be forgotten. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and in this case, it's etched in sandstone and buried under dust. Now let's talk about number 10. The Fayum burial chambers and the mystery of the Isis statue. In December 2022, archaeologists uncovered a massive funerary structure in the ancient city of Fayum, dating back to Egypt's Ptolemaic and Roman periods. What makes this discovery stand out isn't just the impressive scale: stone walls, rock-cut burial chambers, and a floor tiled like a massive checkerboard in lime mortar and color, but the strange things found inside. Most of the burial niches held painted wooden coffins with haunting portraits of the dead, now famously known as Fayum portraits. But one coffin held no human remains at all. Instead, resting where a body should have been was a terracotta statue of the goddess Isis. No one knows why. Fayum was once a spiritual hub devoted to Sobek, the crocodile-headed god, so why Isis appeared here in a human coffin has left scholars scratching their heads. It's a reminder that even in a site layered with history, Egypt still knows how to keep its deepest secrets locked behind a painted lid. Number 9. Hatshepsut's Myrrh Tree. Among Luxor's grandeur, one stump stands in near silence, easily ignored by tourists. But that weathered tree rooted near Hatshepsut's mortuary temple may be the last living trace of her expedition to Punt. Egyptian records describe the tree's journey, brought back by royal command around 3,460 years ago. It wasn't just cargo, it was a symbol planted with care. Today, Punt's exact location remains uncertain, but the temple walls still depict the journey in vivid relief: caravans, incense, exotic animals, and the precious myrrh trees being unloaded. This living remnant should have been erased. Hatshepsut's successor, Thutmose III, systematically destroyed her legacy, chiseling her name from temples, erasing statues, and rewriting lineage. But he missed the tree. Whether by oversight or reverence, it endured. Scientists would love to test its age, but Egypt refuses. Unwilling to harm what may be the last biological witness to an expedition that once awed a nation, it stands alone, a living ghost of a pharaoh history nearly lost. Number 8. The Hidden Chamber Inside the Sphinx. Now, this one is pretty famous. For centuries, the Great Sphinx has loomed in silence beside the pyramids of Giza, but beneath its iconic gaze, there may be more than just limestone and legend. Old photos clearly show an opening on the top of the Sphinx's head, a rectangular hatch that has since been sealed. Modern aerial photography of the Giza Plateau is restricted, and over the years, access to the area around the Sphinx has become more and more limited. There have been claims, some credible, others controversial, of tunnels beneath the statue, chambers inside its body, even connections to the Great Pyramid itself. Seismic surveys have hinted at voids beneath the surface. In one widely debated video, former Egyptian antiquities chief Sahihowas appears to descend into a shaft within the Sphinx, uncovering a stone coffin, but these claims are now met with silence. Whatever lies beneath the world's most recognizable statue, it's not for public knowledge, not yet. And that silence speaks pretty high volumes. Number 7. The temple found beneath a street in Tami. In 2019, construction workers laying sewage pipes in the town of Tama found something ancient and sacred. Drilling halted, archaeologists were summoned, and beneath the soil lay the long-lost temple of Ptolemy IV. The pharaoh himself wasn't exactly adored in his time. He was more fascinated by art and luxury than governing, often painted by historians as a ruler who drifted away from duty. That might explain why his temple was buried beneath a forgotten street rather than celebrated among Egypt's grander sites. But what the temple lacks in scale, it makes up for in intrigue. It was once connected to the massive human-powered ship, the Tessera Conteres, a vessel with a crew of 4,000. Though the ship is gone, the temple stands as a fragment of that extravagant era. Its accidental rediscovery feels oddly poetic, a structure abandoned by history, silenced under layers of earth, until a random act of modern necessity brought it blinking back into daylight. Number 6. The pyramid that tried to hide itself. At first glance, the ruins at El Lahoun don't inspire much awe. But they're what remains of the pyramid of Senusret II, one of the most unconventional pharaohs of Egypt's Middle Kingdom. Built 3,800 years ago, his pyramid was named Senusret Shines and placed not at the traditional royal burial site of Dashur, but in the city of Kahun. The deviation was deliberate, and so was the placement of its entrance. Instead of carving the entrance on the north face like his predecessors, Senusret buried it beneath the tomb of a nearby princess. Whether it was a clever move against grave robbers or a symbolic gesture remains a mystery. The pyramid itself may not have the grandeur of Giza, but its design hints at layered intentions. Senusret broke tradition, shifted royal norms, and left behind questions that haven't been fully answered. His legacy lies not in scale but in subversion, a pyramid that went out of its way to stay hidden and succeeded for centuries. Number 5. Egypt's oldest infant cemetery. In the heart of Egypt's desert, at a site called Gebel Ramlah, researchers in 2019 unearthed something unsettling and deeply human, the world's oldest known infant cemetery. Dating back over 6,000 years to the Neolithic era, this burial ground contains the remains of dozens of young children laid to rest with an unexpected level of care and complexity. The graves held ornamental pottery, ostrich shell jewelry, stone tools, seashells, and even ancient makeup kits. That's not something you'd expect in a culture we barely understand. Egypt's Neolithic past is a murky mystery, mostly erased by the Nile's shifting sands. However, this find suggests a society already steeped in ritual, symbolism, and emotional depth. These children weren't tossed into mass graves, they were buried separately from adults, adorned with love and symbolism, as if their spirits still mattered to those who survived them. We still don't know what to call this lost civilization, but their quiet reverence echoes across millennia. What do you think about it? Number 4. The Dendera Light Mystery. Inside the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a set of strange reliefs has stirred endless debate. The carvings depict a snake coiled inside what looks like a bulb, emerging from a lotus flower and lifted by what appears to be a pillar of human arms. The design has led some to claim it resembles a 19th century crux tube, an early prototype of the electric light bulb. That theory, of course, raises eyebrows. Could ancient Egyptians have discovered electricity long before it officially existed? Skeptics dismiss it as symbolic artwork. but others point to the presence of lamp residue across temple walls, suggesting that some form of lighting was used, perhaps even something more advanced than simple flame. The Dendera images stand out not just because of their uniqueness, but because they challenge what we think we know. Whether metaphor, myth, or misunderstood technology, these carvings still refuse to be explained away, and that silence is what keeps the mystery alive. Well, Egyptians were pretty genius and crazy. Number 3. The Unknown Queen of Egypt. In 2015, archaeologists uncovered a royal tomb from Egypt's Old Kingdom, nestled near the pyramids in Abu Sir. Inside lay the remains of a woman, her identity shrouded in mystery. Inscriptions called her both wife of the king and mother of the king, which would have made her one of the most powerful women of her time nearly 4,500 years ago. Yet her name had never appeared in any previous records. Based on burial placement and speculative genealogy, historians believe she may have been Queen Kentikawes III, possibly the daughter of Kentikawes II, wife to King Neferfri, and mother to King Mekauhor. But there are no other surviving references to confirm that. No statues, no scrolls, no mentions in the usual chronicles. For someone of such high status, her disappearance from the written record is almost eerie. It raises the possibility that her story was deliberately erased or simply never told. Her tomb speaks volumes. Her name, however, remains lost in the sand. Do you have any idea who she was? Number 2. The Sphinx claws found in Israel. In a surprising twist of archaeology, fragments of a sphinx were discovered far from Egypt at the ancient site of Tel Hazor in northern Israel. What they found were the massive front paws of a statue believed to have once stood over a meter tall and weighed nearly half a ton. The style of the sculpture dates it to the reign of Pharaoh Menkaure around 2500 BC, the same era the third pyramid at Giza was being built. Hazor, once a powerful trading hub between Egypt and Babylon, may have received the Sphinx as a diplomatic gift, cementing ties through art and power. But there's no record of such an exchange. No inscriptions explain its presence, just the broken paws, resting on a pedestal with no torso or face, now thousands of miles away from their cultural birthplace. Whether it was lost in war, moved through trade, or brought as a show of dominance, no one knows for sure. The Sphinx's journey ended in ruins and mystery. Number 1. Sekhmet Sek's Granite Guardians at Luxor. Scattered across the ruins of Amenhotep III's once majestic temple complex near Luxor, 27 statues of Sekhmet still stand regal, imposing, and carved in unyielding black granite. Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of war and healing, was both revered and feared. Her image wasn't a symbol of peace, it was power chiseled into stone, a reminder of divine wrath held in check. The temple site, sprawling across almost 4 million square feet, once rivaled any in Egypt, but a massive earthquake 3,200 years ago left it fractured and partially buried. Still, Sekhmet's guardians endured. Most of them stand taller than an average man, while a few are seated, holding the Ankh, the ancient sign of life, in one hand. The choice of black granite was intentional, not just for beauty, but for permanence. The precision and symmetry of these statues, especially given the era in which they were made, remain astonishing. Even in ruin, they project a presence that hasn't dulled with time. They're not relics, they're survivors. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.